some strange things happen in Canada. There's Mel's Hole quite close to you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, well, that's supposed to have creatures in there. You see what that one guy says? Oh, we threw his dead dog or cat in there, one of the two. And the next day, it was out there alive running around.
And they can't find the bottom of it, can they? Well,
No.
16 miles of fishing line and it still hasn't got the bottom.
Yeah, they were dumping refrigerators in there, waiting for them to hit the bottom. Couldn't hear anything.
Very weird.
Yes, very strange, but it kind of reminded me of that 1980s movie, The Pit, where there was a bunch of these creatures that were in a pit, and this guy threw something in there and they just gobbled it all down, and he figured, well, if they're going to do that, then I'm just going to throw the mold rotten meat that's in my fridge. So he throws that in there, gobble it all down. So then he takes this girl that's been getting on his nerves, and in she went.
God, right,
And
really?
then they really liked the taste of the people, so he started throwing his family in there.
Sounds like Mel's Hole again, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what
Oh,
that reminded me of.
yeah. Yeah. The owner had to sell up, didn't he? Weird things happen around your neck of the woods, don't they?
And then we have these Sasquatch sightings. One fellow over on Vancouver Island, he's called Cabin in the Woods. He had an encounter and now he started a YouTube channel and he put his encounter up there. And what happened was he had an image of it, but he couldn't get it really, really clear. He has a really good shot of the thing standing up with its head kind of turned like this. And I'll tell you, that's no bear. And one guy says, oh, it's a grizzly bear. And he says, there are no grizzly bears here. They don't exist. The only thing you're going to find is a black bear. So he was contacted by another guy in the States. And then those two got together, and now it started to go. It was really crazy because him, his wife, and his daughter were just out on the beach. And these rocks came whizzing by the daughter's head. He pulled out his cell phone camera and he started recording. And then more rocks started coming by, so he got her out of the way, and then they started coming at him.
Whoa.
Then he kind of crawled up and just put his head up a little higher so he could see what was going on, and there it was. And of course, it was trying to hide, but it was whizzing rocks at him. Now, he says, what kind of grizzly bear would throw rocks at a child and then try throwing rocks at me? And then he shows video of these two hikers and what they captured. And this thing's 8 feet tall and it's massive. You cannot fit a human into a costume like that. And you could see the muscles, when it turns around. Well, it's going, reaching down to grab another rock. And he had the hand as it was going down. And that's when he said, okay, that's it. We're ducking on out of here. But he got the hand reaching down. And I'm telling you, it was like a very, very long arm going into there reaching. And I thought, no way, that is no bear because bears don't have arms and they're not like that. So then he compared it to an orangutan arm and it
Yeah.
just about fit, except this arm was thicker.
Maybe it's a special sort of orangutan because they've got very long arms.
Yeah. The one that he was showing on his channel, it was thicker. When he had the camera pointing out like this and he saw the leaves move, that's when he said, that's it, we're ducking out of here.
I bet they are. Yeah, they get well out of the way.
He really got some good footage of that and it was clear too.
Oh, it's great.
So something's definitely going on out there, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not bears. It's not people dressed in suits. Not a chance.
But somebody will find one day. I mean, they must die, these things.
Well, you know what he was saying? He says the reason why we don't find any of the skeletal remains is the same reason why you don't find human remains. They bury their dead. So he
Yeah.
says, if they bury their dead, how are you going to find any remains? You'd have to locate the site where they're digging and burying. We like to leave markers where our dead are, but what if they don't? You will never find them unless you're using ground penetrating radar.
Well, you won't find it.
No, because they'd be scattered all over the place. So you're never going to find it. Then they're going, well, what about bears and animals might dig it up? One fellow was saying, and he says, yeah, but do you see people going into graveyards? Do you see animals going into graveyards to dig it because it's 6 feet under? They couldn't even smell it. And
They
even
couldn't.
if they could smell it, how are they going to dig that up?
6 foot under, it's quite a long way.
Yeah.
There's some very strange stories come out about Sasquatch or Bigfoot. They're reported all over the world. I think some of the most impressive reports I've read were in the Altai Mountains in Russia.
Matter of fact, I know which one you're talking about. Those two guys were out in the middle of nowhere And here's this thing that's, again, 8 feet tall, stomping all the way through this super deep snow, and the tracks go way up on top of the hill. And he said no human being could walk up a hill like that, never mind in an ape suit.
Of course they couldn't.
You probably seen that one. It was very clear footage of that thing, and it wasn't white either. No, it was more of a light brown.
And there are also reports of them interbreeding with humans.
Yeah, that's another one too, yeah.
Something very strange there, isn't it?
And then
Yeah.
this Buga Sphere. Oh, brother. That Buga Sphere is the biggest hoax that is going on the internet right now. I had to laugh because on that Sneezing Monkeys channel yesterday, one fella found the drone that was carrying that thing in one shot. How many of these other ones have we seen with fishing line attached
Yeah,
to these things? And that's why they're so sporadic and could go up, because that's exactly what a drone does.
yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
You think that if an alien civilization would have built something like this, that they would have drilled the holes, not painted them, but they would have been symmetric all the way around it, not just gish galloped all over the place. That was the end of that hoax.
Yeah. So one thing I'm pretty certain is not a hoax, and that's crop circles.
No, no, there's something there. There's definitely something to that.
In fact, in the new issue of Nexus, hang on, I'll tell you what the cover is. The article's about deep state global surveillance systems. First, crop circles pictures. Going to have those in there as well. Very interesting. There's some good pictures there. There's certainly something going on in crop circles.
When I saw that one circle, I guess you could say it was one of the newer ones. The fella from Casper site, when he went into that circle, that's it.
That's the one.
You see those nodes and the wheat stalk? They were all bent on an angle like this, and it looked like heat had expanded the nodes and they just popped like popcorn.
That's right. That's what they did.
And then when he went to the farmer and asked the farmer said that he saw the craft that made that, and it was a massive black disc,
Yeah.
and it was just shooting off. His wife also saw it as well from the window. So there was something there. Then, near the end of his video, they were showing a shadow that was going across lengthwise.
Yeah. It was extraordinary. I
And then
know.
you see that other one, that other UFO encounter with that lady in England. She saw this triangular craft that was up above the trees. Very few people know about that one. The whole place was quarantined off. The military was there. There were scientists there set up in these little blue tents. She took video of the whole thing, except unfortunately, she didn't have any video of the triangle up there because she didn't have her camera with her at the time. But of course, guess what happened? That just gets swept under the rug as well, just like the
Yeah.
whole thing.
It's just a hoax. They'll say, oh, it's the planet Venus seen at night, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Ridiculous. Anyway, it's a very good issue, this one. I really enjoyed it. And there's some very interesting stuff. The
Well,
Great Pyramid story, that is really interesting because the guy who's done it, he spends a lot of time in libraries and research institutes, and a lot of the stuff that he's writing about has never been seen before. Now, that thing there, that's the lid of the sarcophagus in the king's chamber. There's a story which he recounts in here of who removed it. It was removed about 1,000 years ago, and it's now the entrance to the roof of the Kaaba in Mecca. You know, the big black cube. It's inside that cube which they all process around, and that's the entrance to the roof of that cube.
but in the center, it's glass that you could see this rock in, and the scientists say it's a piece of meteorite,
That's right. Yeah.
but they won't let them take a sample of it, unfortunately. No.
Yeah. Fascinating. And it was removed from the
What?
king's chamber about 1,000 years ago. So that's where it is. It's a three-part article. This is the first part. And he's got some pictures there of another entrance into the Great Pyramid. I'd never heard about it. Never heard that there was another entrance, let alone an entrance that had been photographed in 1839, I think it was. There we go. That's the Great Pyramid. There's an entrance.
Well, then why isn't it there today?
I don't know. Maybe it is still there, but it's been buried. Anyway, got an advert for Graham Hancock's tours, which is pretty good. Some good stuff in there. Mobile phones, crop circles, human memories of a time on Earth before the moon was in the sky.
You know, this is a very fascinating subject, and I'll tell you why. I think it is because have you ever seen now with the technology that they have? One fellow discovered this. It was someone, whether it was in the CIA, FBI, or it was something like that, where they wanted to hear what was going on inside of this room. It was a glass window with covering over it. So they were listening in, and when they played it back on their equipment, they could hear that there was something that just didn't sound right. So they went and they analyzed it. And you know what it was?
What?
That glass had recorded the previous tenants that were in there. It was in the glass.
Really?
Yes. You couldn't really hear what they were saying, but it was there. People that were previous there. So somehow that glass was able to capture the sound in the past. So they were thinking, well, what would happen if we did that with rocks and other objects? They set up an experiment where they were put different types of materials in a room and then they just let speakers play things over and over again. What they were able to do was to actually listen back to some of the recordings that were in different materials. So now they're trying to see if they can do that with old
Yeah,
rocks. Perhaps they could get some sounds that were thousands of years ago out of these rocks.
that'd be fascinating.
Time will tell.
They can hear the recordings of what people were saying hundreds of years ago.
And I was thinking about those crystal caves. Like, say, for example, there were people that were in caves that were similar to that, that had crystals in the walls, quartz crystals, or any type of a crystalline material in there. It would definitely be able to capture loud voices or animals or something. It would be able to capture it. Now, of course, it's going to be all jarbled. Perhaps you'll have one decade over another decade, but still, with the equipment today, with the AI we have today, that would definitely be able to pull a voice or an animal or
Yeah,
something out of it and make sense of it. Because let's face it, they just did that with a manuscript.
that's right, they did. Yeah. AI seems to be being used quite often now in the sort of looking at old artifacts. In fact, AI's been having a look at crop circles, trying to work out what they mean. And there's some very interesting stuff coming out there.
You know what I was thinking about? Maybe it's off the wall, I don't know. But let's just go back to the Bible for a minute. When you do the mathematics in Revelation, you find out that Satan and those demons were thrown down to the earth and around 1914, around there. And of course, that's where World War One breaks out. How convenient. But what I was thinking about was along that path. So when this occurred, how would they communicate? And let's just take it over to the aliens in the crop circles now. But let's say one of these creatures wanted to communicate with another one. It's not meant for humans. But let's say, for example, in the Bible, you had the Prince of Persia, the Prince of Greece, all these different demonic princes that were around at the time. Like
Yeah,
Jesus said with his apostles, let's leave this place. The Prince of Greece is coming by, or the Prince of Persia is coming by.
yeah,
So obviously, there was a whole entourage of them with the leader here. Obviously, we can't see it, it's in an invisible realm. But let's
yeah.
just say that these beings are talking to each other, and those crop circles are their means of communication. I thought, no, maybe that might have something to do with it. I don't know. But
Yeah,
definitely they have a meaning. But what if it wasn't meant for man? What if aliens were just talking to each other using these pictograms?
they could be.
Let's say you're 1,000 feet in the air or 2,000 feet in the air, and you wanted to send a communication. You're going to put it on the ground, and then if someone flies over, you're going to see it. And I was wondering maybe if that's why they're so bloody large.
Yeah, so they can be seen.
Because you
Yeah.
can't see it from the ground, you can only see it from the air.
I mean, when I first started looking into crop circles, which is, 35 years ago, I started going into them, looking at them. I was with people who were equally interested. And at the end of the first few months, I thought, well, it's a form of communication. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. We have to be able to try to interpret what it is, whoever it is saying, because it's a visual form of communication.
And whoever's writing these or making these wants whoever to be able to see this only from a specific height.
And it could be that whoever it is communicating wants humans to be able to interpret them, to work it out themselves. So it's a sort of exercise in understanding.
Or it could even be that it's not meant for us, it's meant for some of their contemporaries who are flying over as a marker saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to meet you here at 12 o'clock, or
Yeah.
go here over to this place and I'll meet you over there, or something like that.
I mean, that one there, it's a weird picture, that one. Looks like those old mines that were put into the sea with little spikes on them. That's what it looks like. I mean, quite what that is, I haven't any idea. It looks like a spider of some sort.
It's
But
like an
it's weird.
octopus.
There's some very strange shapes.
So that one, that octopus or squid or whatever, when was that one made?
That was 10th of July in Dorset, which is
You see,
southwest England.
I wonder why most of these are showing up in England.
I know. Most of them appear in southern England, near Stonehenge, near Avebury. Most of them appear around that area. I think it's because there are people in that area who are able to understand it.
But even the nodes, I wonder if the nodes are popped, just like the one that other fella found. That'd be interesting to see.
Those exploding nodes have been seen quite often. It's one of the ways you determine if the crop circle is for real or not,
Yeah.
or whether it's man-made, because man cannot make the energy requirement to make the nodes explode. They're quite hard. That's why the plant stands up. It's held by these nodes.
When they pop, that's what bends the top of that stalk over. That one fella, he went over there and he was grabbing the regular ones and bending them, and they just snap. It's almost like someone has taken a massive magnetron and just literally put it right up to the stalk and then
Yeah,
turned it on for a second or two and then shut it off. And it just enough energy just to make them explode. Now, you
it's a form
imagine that energy, the power that would take to do that?
I know, which is why quite a lot of people report when they go into a crop circle, a camera that they may have will stop functioning. It'll just stop working. Batteries die, they walk out of the crop circle and it's fine. It works again. So there's a form of energy involved.
Yes.